Hello to everyone. My name is Angie Peacock. I'm a psychiatric drug withdrawal consultant and a healing coach. Today we are speaking with Katharine. I love to bring you guys people that are inspirational, stories that are important, thought-provoking topics in the field of deprescribing and psychiatric drug withdrawal. And today it's Katharine. If you happen to be watching this recording later on YouTube, please hit subscribe. It helps us get more viewers. It helps us find more people. It helps people that are tapering find us. That would be so cool. So, Katharine, welcome. Where are you coming in from? What state are you in?
We are in Washington State currently.
Awesome. And I'm in Oregon, so we're very close. We could have done this live,
Right.
but cool. Welcome from the Pacific Northwest. Okay, so I'm not going to read her bio so that we don't have to waste the time and repeat ourselves. So I'm going to jump right in with this conversation. If you have questions for Katharine specifically, go ahead and put them below. We won't be giving any like specific advice, but if you have something that you want to ask her, please add it and I'll see it. All right, so Katharine, let's just start at the very beginning. How did you come to be on psychiatric drugs?
Well, this started about 17 years ago. About that, um, whenever I developed PTSD, and then had also some autoimmune conditions that caused hyperthyroidism. That can cause some anxiety, stuff like that. Um, that led me to antidepressants. Then kind of felt like those weren't really doing much. So then I was prescribed benzos. Um, Kind of went back and forth with being prescribed as needed, and then was prescribed Klonopin to take daily, and then Xanax as a rescue med. And then progressively just felt like I got worse. And led me down a road of just like polydrugging with multiple antidepressants. I remember I took Seroquel, sleep medications, migraine medications, and just went from there.
One thing to the next to the next. So, as a survivor of trauma, also, did you try other things? Did they introduce other things to you, or was it primarily like medication focused?
I did I did go to a therapist. I saw a fantastic therapist in Colorado when we lived there. My husband's in the military, so we just like move around.
Yeah.
But I saw a great therapist there who helped me with coping skills, and that's where I learned EFT tapping that I still rely on today. And that was very helpful. And I tried to look into like some herbs to try. Um, like, so I did some of that and some holistic things, but um, I feel like the medication was like holding me back.
Mm.
Um, like I shouldn't have been on it for that long.
Yeah.
Like, should have gotten off of it sooner.
Yeah. What about, I mean, I felt like, because I have a PTSD diagnosis also, I felt like I couldn't quite, as much therapy as I would do, as much things as I would try, it was like it wouldn't work. Like I felt like I keep spinning my wheels. I'm talking about this stuff over and over and over. Why don't I feel better? And so I think I got confused. Like, what was the medication? What was me? What was trauma? Like, I didn't know. Did you
Right.
experience anything like that?
Yeah, I was very confused. Like, why is this happening? Why is this taking so long? Like, I had first trauma experience in like 2007.
Mhm.
And then I had another trauma experience in 2011 when my father died and my husband was deployed, and it was just like really hard for me.
Mhm.
And I was just like, took years. I was like, why is this affecting me for so long? And I would have people be like, just get over it, would tell me these things. And I'm like, I can't. Like, so I didn't know, is the medication helping me? Am I just beyond repair? Um, just those type of thoughts where I really didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like my doctors never were like, let's try something else. Let's maybe see if you would do better off the medication. It was never like that.
Yeah. So looking back, I find this out later, but benzos are actually contraindicated in someone with PTSD. Did you know that?
Right. I learned that
later.
after the fact that they are not very good for PTSD. I do think that I was experiencing like rebound anxiety
Yeah.
over those years that made it worse.
Yeah. That's how I felt too. Well, and in hindsight, when I read that journal article, and we'll put it in the comments, guys, so you can read that yourself or in the caption. But I was like, oh, no wonder, no
Yeah.
wonder I could never quite put it away.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I assume there was some point in time while you were on the meds, while you were doing all this therapy and all this trauma work, that you were like, wait, I don't want to be on these meds. So, or something happened with the medication. What made you question, like, what was the waking up process for you like?
Um, I questioned it a lot throughout the whole time that I was on medication. I even tried to get off antidepressants twice before.
Mhm.
Um, I just started to feel like I'm feeling worse. Like years are going by, I'm not getting better. Um, I'm getting substantially worse with depression and just the anxiety was a little better, but my depression was so severe. And they kept trying me on different antidepressants, or they would do a rapid taper of just 4 weeks.
Mhm.
And I was like, something's not right. Like I started to feel there's a better way to help me. So I tried to get off Effexor. Was not successful the first time. My doctor did a 4 week taper that was just excruciating. And I didn't know any better. This was back in 2013.
Mhm.
I didn't know anything about proper tapering. So I got back on, and then years later, was like, I'm trying this again, but at my own pace. I did it
Did you
myself.
see, but when that happened, did you see it as that's withdrawal, or did you think I'm really mentally ill and I need
Oh, I
meds?
saw it as withdrawal.
I
Like
gotta do it.
I've been on like 8 or 9 different antidepressants, and I
Yeah.
knew kind of what antidepressant withdrawal was. So I knew it was withdrawal. It was just so extreme, I couldn't handle it, and I didn't know to taper slower.
Yeah.
Um, so I was like, I'm just getting back on this for now, and I will tackle this
Later.
later. Um, so I just kind of started to feel like I don't want to be on these anymore. They're not doing much. And I finally got off, and I was off for several years. I tapered my last antidepressant over like 6 months and did really well. And benzos, I had been able to just stop before with no problem. Got very lucky. Didn't have any problem before. So I was
Mhm.
off for about 2 years. Made the mistake to go back to benzos during some high stress situations. I don't know if you remember Hurricane Michael
Yeah.
back in 2018. Um, it was very bad in my hometown where I was living. Um, and I was moving at that time. And I just was like, I think I'm going to go pick up my Klonopin prescription, and thought it's safe. I'm only taking as needed. Because I was one of those people that took as needed mostly,
Yeah.
but still reached tolerance.
Mhm.
Um, but I thought it would be fine. And that was like probably my biggest like mistake was to go back on them. Because that's when like really got bad.
Yeah. So I see this often in my work with people that they'll tell me I was on antidepressant, I was fine, I came off fine the first time. I was on it for 2 years after, postpartum or something. I came off of it in 6 months, fine, no withdrawal. This time I can't get off. And I hear it so much. I would say probably in like 80% of the people I work with that it worries me because I think the system thinks there's no such thing as withdrawal. It doesn't happen. Never seen it in my practice. And I'm like, yeah, you didn't see it because the person that did it once or twice or 3 times was fine and the person
Right.
not fine. And now you don't believe in them for
Yeah.
whatever reason. So they leave your practice, they go online and they go find people that do understand withdrawal. So
That's
I think
exactly
the
what
system
happened.
keeps saying, no, there's no such thing as withdrawal. I've never seen that, or discontinuations, whatever they want to call it.
Right.
They don't see it. They don't know how to ask the right questions. You guys leave. So what was your relationship like when you tried to stop benzos this last time with the medical system? Did you
Whew.
try to convince them, or like what happened?
My husband is actually the one who brought it to my attention. I didn't know what was going on. I pretty quickly After getting back on taking as needed, probably 6 months into that, started to feel bizarre symptoms. And I would question my doctors. They were like, no, it's just your underlying anxiety, your PTSD is resurfacing. They would push me to try another antidepressant. I was very adamant about never getting on another antidepressant again. So I refused. And um, one day I was having the weird symptoms, which was like clogged ears, feeling head pressure, weird crackling noises in my ear that I'm like, what is this? And I had anxiety. And so I took a Klonopin because I had to travel. I had to drive. And I was like, I'm going to have to take one. And the weird sensations went away. And my husband was like, do you think you're getting dependent on that? And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't think that was possible taking as it needed. So I started questioning my doctors. They said no. They said there's no way that you will get dependent on this taking it the way you are. You're not going to go through withdrawal. I was like, I was like freaking out pretty much at this point. It's like, are you sure? And they were like, no, you can't go through withdrawal. I was talking to my psychiatrist and my primary care about these symptoms and what was happening, and telling them that I started to need more and more. And they still were like, you're just anxious about the pandemic because you have underlying anxiety. That's all that it is. That type of stuff. And I was like, do I need to taper? I was like, I don't want to, I'm getting dependent. I don't want to do this. I want to taper. And they're like, well, my psychiatrist said, he was like, said, I don't even know how you would taper this. He was
You're
like,
doing it as needed, right?
right. He's like, I don't know how you would taper it. He's like, you should just like maybe start taking one less or something. He was like, and then he said, honestly, you could just stop and probably have no issue. So decided to get a second opinion from my primary care. She absolutely does not believe for sure that it is the benzo. She was pushing an antidepressant on me. Finally gave in. Tried 3 antidepressants.
Oh, Katharine, we lost your video. What the heck? We lost your video. Oh no. Hold on, guys. I have a feeling her battery died or something, maybe. We'll see. Come back. So sorry. It's never a dull moment. Can you hear me, Katharine? She's coming back. It says did not connect to audio. Sorry, guys, for the commercial interruption. She'll be here in a second. She's reloading everything. She's revamping. Hold on 1 minute. So sorry. If you're just joining us, just put in the chat where you're coming in from. And if you have any questions for her, I will get to them. So please put them in the chat. There you are. Yes. Can you hear me now?
Okay.
What happened?
I don't know. It just randomly
Just went black.
went away.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Maybe somebody heard you and didn't want you to finish that story.
Right. They're like, no, she needs to stop.
Yeah, stop right there. Okay, so where you left off at, then they wore you down and said, okay, how about you take an antidepressant to help you with this withdrawal? Was that what it was?
Yes, I gave in, tried 3, made things 100 times worse. I mean, extremely bad.
So wait, were you tapering the benzo or like trying to stop the benzo? And then tell me what you were doing.
I was still taking the benzo as needed at this time because they were like, just let the antidepressant start working and then you can get off the benzo. That's what they said. Well, the antidepressants made things substantially worse, to where very uncomfortable symptoms, and my psychiatrist ended up saying, you're not a candidate for antidepressants anymore. Don't ever take them again. You need to stop right now. He didn't explain further, but then he basically dumped me as a patient. Said that I was too difficult of a case and I needed to find a new psychiatrist. So I just felt completely alone and like hopeless. I didn't know what to do. So I started relying on my primary care manager then while I was looking for a new psychiatrist. But her ultimate reason was I'm actually having allergic reactions to the benzo, that it is not withdrawal. There's no way it's withdrawal. And she's like, the only way it's withdrawal is if you were lying to me about how much you're taking. And
Oh my God.
that
The
was
gaslighting is just so bad.
that was like the first beginning of the real distrust for me, starting in doctors when she started talking to me that way, you know. And I was like, I don't think this is allergic reaction. I was like, I've been looking up withdrawal and it seems like that's what it is. And she was like, no, you're having allergic reaction, so I'm going to abruptly take you off.
Oh God.
And she was like, but I want you to try the Prozac again. And I feel like if I would have took her advice of continuing the Prozac, I'm really concerned what would have happened to me based on the reactions I was having from that. So they're just like clueless, you know.
They're putting. I feel like they're putting the ignorance in the medical system about withdrawal, these injuries, the reactions, about paradoxical effects, about kindling, about a person that's destabilized. Their ignorance and all of these subjects that we know actually put patients at more risk for worsening injuries and suicide and death because they screw with people's nervous systems the way that they do.
Right. I was having extremely severe pot symptoms where I was like begging her to help me because my blood pressure was like 155 over 95 and my heart rate was in the 170s. I mean, somebody just doesn't have those type of symptoms and there not be something going on.
Right.
Yeah, I went to the ER for these symptoms and got scolded by the ER doctor for coming to an ER during COVID for a panic attack. Told me never to come back to the ER during a pandemic for anxiety attack again. So that was another blow to my trust in these doctors. So I never went back to the ER after that. I was like, I'm done going to the ER after someone says that to me when I come in with these debilitating symptoms.
Yeah. So then your GP was handling your taper, let's say. So then what was her response after all these physical symptoms were coming up and you were getting worse and worse? Then how did she respond?
She still just thought I was having allergic reactions and that I was just having severe anxiety. That's why she wanted to continue the Prozac. I begged her for a beta blocker because my heart rate and blood pressure was so high. I was really concerned. She didn't want to give me a beta blocker, but she wanted to push the Prozac. But she finally agreed to refer me to a cardiologist, so I just stopped seeing her. I didn't get back on the Prozac. I was like, I'm not trusting what this lady says. The only doctor that helped me was a cardiologist. He did not reinstate me, though. At this point, I had stopped, and the Klonopin, and it made up my mind that I was just going to continue with her abruptly taking me off. But he helped me in the way that he was the only one who empathized with me. He was the only one who acknowledged what I was going through.
So did he believe you were in benzo withdrawal, or did he just think it was POTS, or what did he think?
He believed I was in benzo withdrawal because he actually said he has other patients that come in during benzo withdrawal for beta blockers.
Wow. So at that point, someone's asking in the chat, at that point, how long had you been taking benzos that third time, let's say, and how much as needed use were you taking at the time?
I got back on them in fall of 2018. By this time, this was March 2020. Now, I started out when I got back home in 2018 taking 0.25 milligrams of Klonopin, only every few months, even if that. I remember telling my doctor whenever she refilled my small prescription, she was like, "How often do you take this?" And I was like, "Maybe once every 4 months." So they were like, "Oh, that's great," but it slowly started to needing more, where it turned into once every 2 months,
Yeah.
then once every month, and then I'm like, I need this more and more. It became to where it was one like every 2 weeks, and it just continued that way to eventually where in February of 2020, I was taking one maybe twice a week. And I told my doctors this. I was like, look, I went from this to this. What is happening? And they're just like, you're just way more anxious now. You're just, it's your anxiety.
PTSD progressing.
It is my PTSD progression. You really should consider getting on an antidepressant. That's what they would always say.
Because it's important to say this distinction here for people not listening. That would not be considered addiction because she's not like running out of her script early, taking a whole bunch, like buying them on the street. She's still well below the therapeutic dose. Like she's not taking them daily, but you had the intuition, something's wrong here, something's off. This isn't like me. So I'm wondering, like in those months, because listen, you're not the first one to tell me that I was taking it as needed and I still got a benzo injury. I hear it all the time, honestly. I have people that had like a full-blown withdrawal from a very short period of use from as needed use. I explain it. But so what kind of symptoms were building over those months that made you have to take it more?
Panic was the main symptom that just continued to increase. Was this increased anxiety, panic that had gone for years and was all of a sudden coming back. Increased obsessive tendencies, where
I'm hearing all the therapists and prescribers that are listening, and they're saying, "Oh, that's anxiety. Like you were just getting anxiety."
Yeah, so
you need a benzo to treat the anxiety. That's what they're used for. I think that's where the confusion is like, is this some building benzo injury, some kindling that was occurring, or is this some mental illness? And that's where we always don't know what is it for one person. And in some ways, maybe that would have worked for you, and you could have came off again and been fine. You identified this is a problem, I don't like it, and then you came off and had withdrawal, but it was probably coming from the drug.
Right, yeah. I definitely feel it was the drug. I had derealization, severely started 6 months after getting back on. I've never had derealization in my life. I didn't know what it was.
Not even through traumas. No.
Right, not even through my traumas. I didn't know what this weird sensation was of being out of my body. So I knew something was different, these type of symptoms I was experiencing.
Yeah. All right, so that takes us to your withdrawal process. So you're basically abruptly stopped from as needed use, and then you stopped the antidepressant. You didn't go back on Prozac like your GP suggested.
No.
And then what happened at that point when you were just like, okay, I'm done. I can't trust the medical folks that I'm talking to. Like, now what? What happened?
I ended up finding support groups on Facebook and relied on there. And I was hopeful that it would not last very long. Everybody kept telling me, it's not going to last very long, because I took as needed and the weekly use was only for like a month, where I was taking them like several times a week. And they were like, don't worry, you're going to be fine. And my therapist told me that, and I was like so hopeful that it would be over with. And I was just completely wrong. I had over 100 symptoms. I was bedbound for at least almost a year, where I spent the majority of the time in bed. I was agoraphobic, couldn't leave my house. Just this horrible horrible withdrawal that I was convinced either something is really wrong with me. I was like just obsessively looking for answers, trying to find out if I have some other disease, since my doctors kept telling me this isn't possible. My therapist told me she had never heard of this, and so she didn't think that's what it was. So I still had a lot of confusion about it and what was happening to me. I thought I might be dying. It was so bad. Oh,
Sorry, I'm on mute. I muted myself because there's wind. I'm right by the ocean. Anyway, okay, so what was it like realizing, oh my gosh, the medical system doesn't really know what's happening to me. I'm terrified, and now I'm looking for answers on Google and Facebook. Like, how
um,
do you come to terms with that?
it was terrifying. I felt lost and alone and hopeless. But I came to realize I had to just rely on myself. I couldn't go rely on these doctors. So it was, that was a long process for me to kind of start surrendering to what was happening, try to start accepting that this is benzo withdrawal, benzo injury. It took a very long time. I would say maybe like 6 months for me to finally
I figured it all out. Yeah.
be like, okay, this has to be what it is. And I just was very adamant about doing it at home with my, by myself. So,
Whew.
um,
I think that's the hard part. I just put up a video the other day called the 3 OSHIT moments of withdrawal. When you like, one is like, uh-oh, it's the meds. Next one is, uh-oh, it's the meds and my doctor doesn't get it. The next one is, uh-oh, it's me and my
right.
suffering and I got
Yeah.
to get through this. And some people get stuck there because they're like they'll keep chasing an answer, or they think they can find some expert, or there's something else wrong with me. And then the next one is, okay, it's I get it. Now I have to move forward in my life without taking meds because I already tried that and they're not an option anymore, you know?
Right.
But it
Yeah.
takes people, I see people get stuck and they go back and forth and
Yeah.
go back on and then they come off, like it's different for everybody. But so it sounds like it took you a while, but you did like kind of come to terms with it on your own terms.
Right. I didn't want to go back to doctors and get more medicine. I was completely against that. I did try like some supplements here and there, but I would react very strongly to them. So that was short lived, me hoping that there was a fix in a supplement.
So let's go there. At your worst, and if this is too traumatic, obviously don't share, only share what you want to, but how bad was the withdrawal? Like what did you go through? What did you experience? What did it feel like in your body?
I mean, I felt like I was dying, and I thought I was dying. And I had extreme terror, um, over 100 symptoms that were debilitating. My main ones were like severe POTS symptoms, um, some inner agitation, possibly akathisia that I think that I was experiencing, um, derealization. I would ask my mom. I moved in with my mom. I couldn't care for myself. I couldn't cook. I couldn't even unload and load the dishwasher. So my husband's job is very demanding. And so I chose to move in with my mother because I needed like 24-hour care. Had monophobia where I was scared to be alone, um, the agoraphobia, and couldn't cook my meals. So she would just take care of me. And I was just like, what is happening? But what I was saying a minute ago is I would ask my mom to pinch me. I'd be like, I was like, I don't feel real. I don't feel I'm on this earth. I was like, and I'd be like, is this real? Are we really here? And I'd be like, pinch my arm. And she would do these things for me. She was very supportive and helpful through this process. So was my husband. Um, his work is just too demanding where I couldn't be with him for a prolonged amount of time. But you think maybe there is something wrong with me. So that was at the bad phase, was me just obsessively searching for answers, searching, do I have some disease that the doctors missed? I would tell my mother, I think I might die tonight in my sleep. And, be like, if I do, I love you. Um, my family was just very scared, worried about me, but
It's
they were,
also I just because I know how bad it can be, you're at this crossroads where I'm so sick and I'm so ill, but I can't even get up to go to the hospital because those are the people that traumatized me in
yeah,
the first place. And so I can't even investigate if there's something wrong with me. And for me, when I came to that point, I thought either I'm going to live or I'm going to die, and I don't even know what's going to happen.
that's the exact thought I had. And I would say that to my mom and husband because they wanted me sometimes to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And I refused. I said, the only way I'm going is if I'm unconscious and I have passed out on the floor and you call 911. I was like, I'm not voluntarily going. I was like, either I'm surviving this because it's just psych med injury or something's wrong with me and I'm just going to die. I was like, but I'm not going. I'm not going.
So terrifying. I
Yes,
know.
I was terrified and I couldn't leave my house.
Yeah.
That was another reason I stopped going was I couldn't go anymore. It was too difficult. Um, the symptoms would definitely ramp up if I tried to leave the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now is the healing process. So I'm imagining you laying in your bed like a mummy. You can't move. You're completely POTS driven. You put your feet on the floor. You're like, lay down again. So how did you start to get up out of bed and start to wait? I think I'm getting better. Like, what was that like? And when did that happen?
Now I was bedbound, but I had to get up, to go to the restroom and stuff. But it was a slow process of just trying to be gentle with myself. I was not one of those people that benefited from pushing myself too much. So it was slow, maybe go to the bathroom or walk outside, try to get some sunshine, and then go back to the bed and lay there all the rest of the day. Just tiny little increments like that I finally worked up to um, being able to be outside more. Once I was able to be outside, then I would just go sit outside for a while. But
What happened if you pushed? Because that's a question that comes up very often. Angie, how much do I push or not?
I had really bad overstimulation. Like I couldn't watch TV, I couldn't listen to music, couldn't have long conversations. So that extreme overstimulation feeling would happen if I pushed myself. That would cause increase in symptoms. Where I didn't feel like it was like exposure therapy, where you're kind of breaking through the anxiety. It was nothing like that. It was just an increase in symptoms if I tried to push myself too much.
Yeah, it's good feedback. Yeah. Okay, so then you start to gently trust and you're just slowly, 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 and your symptoms are still coming with you. So then what happened over the couple years and what kind of things did you try? What kind of things helped? Like what was that healing?
Um, well, I did eat a healthy diet. I tried to do whole food diet. I did a low histamine diet at one point because I did have histamine issues um, that I feel helped me. EFT tapping was my go-to. That's always been my go-to. I learned it from my therapist in Colorado, and I heavily relied on it through this. Breath work, um, guided sleep meditations to try to bring my sleep back. Um, I did sunrise, like I would go sit in the sunrise and then sit in the sunset.
Perfect.
Try,
I love that's what I do in the van and what regulated my sleep.
right, to try to
Helps
regulate my
me so
sleep.
much.
It really helped me a lot. So did the guided sleep meditations. And just trying to reduce stress. I know that's really hard, but trying to reduce stress as much as possible um, was helpful. And just having kind of a positive mindset. It was not easy. There was definitely times when my mindset was not positive, but I would try to tell myself I'm healing. I'm safe. Um, I would imagine, like I did visualizations where I'd imagine my body healing.
Mhm.
Just really trying to do several somatic practices. I did
Try to
qigong.
try to like chill your nervous system out as much as you could. Yeah.
Right. I did a lot of like nervous system regulation exercises.
Yeah. So there's always every couple years there comes a wave where everybody's like, go do neuroplasticity, go do a program, go do DNRS, go do Gupta, go do this or that. And then I see a lot of people that get really disappointed because they're like, Angie, it's not fixing me. I can't pull up positive emotion, or I can't feel, I can't do what they're telling me to do. You know, it feels like sometimes it's gaslighty. Sometimes these practices like really help. And the way I say it is anything that teaches you how to communicate with your nervous system, or to try to find a little bit of pinch of control somewhere or something
Yes.
to help you bring it down, that's helpful.
Right.
Do thinking that it's going to cure it, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's probably not going to cure it. So I know the title of our talk is Time is the Healer. So what do you think? Because I'm still kind of figuring it out sometimes. Like, we're doing these practices to help us where we can to get through this experience.
Yes.
And all the while our body's trying to regulate what was injured by the medications. So it's not like a cure, but it passed, even if it just passes the time, I say it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's not a chemical in your body, it's worth it. So what harm can it really do unless you just get agitated more and you don't like it, and then just, okay, don't do that one.
Right.
So what do you think is the relation between the practices that you did and your rate of healing, or what worked and what didn't? Tell me what you think from your point of view.
Well, it started out as just a distraction. Like you said, I used EFT tapping to help with the restlessness and the inner agitation,
Mm-hmm.
and to have a distraction, because everybody was like, you need a distraction. And I did. And so I would do EFT tapping like for 6 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know if this is doing anything, because I don't feel like it is at first,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew that it was a healing,
Modality.
very soothing modality. So I was like, I'm just going to do this. So I don't think it cured anything, but I do feel like as time went on, it helped me to feel safer in my body.
Yeah.
It helped me to feel a little more comfort, because for a while I felt no comfort. That terror feeling, inner agitation. There's no comfort.
Yeah, there's no guided meditation that takes terror out of your body
Right.
right away. No. So what do you think about this too? I think this is my theory anyway. We all come to meds with pre-existing conditions. You had PTSD, so did I, and other things, whatever our diagnoses could have been. Okay, we're a different person. We're not going to go back to who we were pre-existing necessarily.
Right.
Those problems, the trauma, we'll talk about that in a minute, but the things are still there and you work on them when you're able. It, like, in the midst of terror, it's not a time to do intense trauma therapy because you can't even put it away because you're
Yeah.
terrorized. Like, so that's not the time. We'll revisit that later. However, the skills that I had to learn in withdrawal have rewired me in a sense, because, like, for instance, I live in the present moment, like, very, like every single day. Like, I don't even know where I'm going to sleep tonight in the van.
Right.
I'm traveling. I don't worry about that. That's nothing I need to worry about. When the time comes, I'll handle it. I'll find a place to park. I am more present with my family. I'm more present with my friends, more present with my clients. I'm more empathetic. I'm more compassionate. I am. People meet me and it makes me laugh, and they say, Angie, you're so like solid and grounded. And I'm like, that's funny, because if you would have met me 4 years ago, I was like,
Right.
chandelier with terror, like, but it's because of these things that I've done that you have to do to get through the experience. So have you experienced any of that? Did you ever think about that? Like, maybe all this tapping that I've done has helped me be more.
Yeah. I definitely feel that way. I mean, I've been a supporter of EFT tapping since before benzo withdrawal. I knew about these things from the therapist I saw for PTSD. I knew they could help. I knew they could regulate my nervous system. I knew they could bring down anxiety. So I just really relied on those things, and now still rely on them for the PTSD symptoms of anxiety and
Mhm.
depression that I'm still going to have and have to work through now that I don't have medication like I did years ago. Um, so I
So
do
does
think they are
does your
very helpful.
pre-existing condition still feel like really present, or did you feel like you had to work on that, or how does that fit into the whole thing?
I don't think that it's not that bothersome anymore. So that's really good. But I still have some anxiety that I do have to work on, stuff like that. But it is not as severe as it used to be.
Now,
And
do you think
after,
that's because the meds were making it worse, or do you think it's because of the practices that you did, or what do you think? It's
I
hard
think
to know. It's hard to
it's
know.
hard to know, but I do think it's a little bit of both that um, my healing modalities that I've done have helped me, but also I do think that medications over the long run were making me worse um, with the symptoms I was having.
Isn't that interesting though? You validate me when you say that because I don't know you. We just met to do this interview. Like I put a call out for stories and we talked for what 30 minutes on the phone, but I
Right,
I, I like to hear it from other people, the stuff that I struggled with or tried to make sense out of, like, okay, well, what was it? Because I did not have to go back and do trauma therapy. I just didn't.
right. Yeah, I haven't felt the
Not,
need
it's
to
I
do
don't
that.
feel like I need to go do EMDR for my pre-existing condition. That is never and my own therapist, who is an EMDR trainer that helped me in withdrawal, she said, Angie, your old trauma is going to come back and you're going to have to work on it again. And I was like, well, what the hell was I doing for 13 years going to therapy and EMDR and all the other stuff I did?
Right.
Now I have to go back through it again. And I did not. It did not show up. I
That's
don't have
great.
nightmares about my pre-existing condition. It's not there. I don't know
That's
how to
so
explain it.
awesome. Yeah.
It was like magic. But so one of my theories is, and we talked about Amy before. Amy is one of the other interviews I did. If anybody wants to watch it, go back and watch the Amy episode. But she had a similar story to me and Katharine too, where she said in that interview, it's like when you go through this experience, everything that is like your vulnerability, your pre-existing condition, your fears, your things that you like, everything comes to a head and you have to face it and take care of it. Like
Yeah.
it just, however, not in like the trauma sense, but like I have a little bit of social anxiety. So then I had to work through that a little bit. I know that I am high strung and like very go getter type A personality. I have to
Yeah.
wheel back a little, a fear of death. That's what me and Amy talked about. We had fears of death. That was from my original trauma, but I didn't really know, I didn't identify it as that. But I had to face my fear of death. Like, okay, I could live or die from this. I'm not really sure what's going to happen. So it feels like a speed pass through a
Yeah.
bunch of your healing that you kick the can down the road and okay, you asked for healing. Here it is.
Right.
Now you're going to heal all of it.
Yeah.
So what do you think about what I just said?
Definitely. That's how I feel. I mean, after what you go through in withdrawal, I've said this, I'm like, my previous traumas were nothing compared to what I endured from psych med harm. They were hard. Of course, I wouldn't want to go through them again. But after what I went through, I kind of like, I can handle this. I can tackle this. I have developed the skills to help me because of what all I did through withdrawal. So I'm
Respect.
like, I still have some social anxiety and stuff like that, but it is nothing compared to the terror
No.
you feel in withdrawal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Nothing. Yeah. So I look at it like it's hard and fast and deep suffering. None of us want it. We don't deserve it. It should have never happened.
mm-hmm.
And here it is. And it will fix a lot of stuff that you didn't know you had to work on, whether you want
Right.
to or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you come out of it, you kind of reach your potential and you become a better person and you're already good. But it's like, oh, there I am. Here I come. I'm back and I'm better. Or I'm like
Right.
always wanted to be, but I couldn't quite find it. And now
Yeah.
so do you feel like that? Like what do you think?
Yes. I've took this opportunity as you got to rebuild yourself, your life after this, anyways, to rebuild how I wanted to be. I had a lot of regrets when I was bedbound and thought that I was basically on my deathbed. I was like, there's so many things that I didn't do for myself that I wanted to do that I didn't do. And I envisioned me doing them once I got better. So now that I'm better, I'm trying to just do things that I'm passionate about and have joy about, that make me happy. You know, like you said, be a better version than what I was. Um, so that's the point that I'm at now, is rebuilding my life, trying to see what do I really want now out of this life, because I feel like I got a second chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Make me want to cry. It's tough because you come out of that suffering and you noticed this too? Like when you come out of it, you're like, wait, I can let my guard down a little. I can trust. Like my body is stronger. My nervous system feels stronger. I think I'm okay. I'm still a little scared. I'm waiting for the eggshell to, that I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, but I think I'm okay. Like, did you
Right.
feel you were coming out? Like how was that coming out process?
It was like that, where I'm like, you know, is something, I kind of was scared for a while of waves. I do still have some symptoms, um, but it's nothing compared to what it was.
Yeah.
And for a while, I was scared. Is it going to come back? Am I going to have an extreme wave? But now I've gotten to a point where I'm kind of trusting my body, and I'm like, this hasn't happened. I haven't had any horrible things come back, but I'm just trying to be safe, try to reduce stress, and just be gentle with myself still. I don't want to just all of a sudden throw myself back into life and start doing really stressful things again that led me to medicines in the first place.
Yeah. So how is life now? What would you like? What's your current state, and like what are the things you're looking forward to? What are you doing now in your life?
Um, Main thing I do now is travel. We just moved to Washington State about 8 months ago. And I'm taking full advantage of being able to leave the house, being healthy enough to go and do things. 2 years ago, I never would have thought that I had taken a trip across country. We moved from Alabama to Washington State. Um, Now that move was a challenge for me to drive across state, but I handled it and I did it 2 years ago. Even like a year and a half ago, probably I would not have been able to do that. So we've just been traveling, um, camping regularly, just enjoying things. I got back into animal rescue and started fostering some animals. That's something that I always wanted to do. Um, Started creating art again. I had stopped years ago because of confidence issues, and that was one of my regrets, was letting basically like the world take that from me, because I was so scared, like doubt and fear, to put myself out there with my art. Um, so that's something that I enjoy now and have gotten back to, and um, just like living, I mean, and it's so much better. I'm able to just go outside and not feel fear, not feel terror.
Not think
Um,
about it. Not like be worried the sun is burning you, or
yes,
you're just like,
not,
oh, it's just normal, and things become mundane again, and like it's easy, it's carefree, all the things we were
yeah.
jealous of. Other people look at they're just taking their life for granted. What's wrong with them? Yeah.
I was so, jealous of people, just going outside and doing something simple. It's like walking out of your house and getting in the car. That felt impossible to me years ago. Um, so I'm just enjoying the simple things. That's really what I missed the most,
Yeah.
was
Making a good meal, grocery shopping,
right.
you know,
Um,
taking a walk.
yeah, just enjoying being alive, because withdrawal, took that away for a long time.
Now I can hear the audience right now. Um, a question they probably thought, or they're thinking right now in their own process. I'm never gonna heal from this. Katharine is different than me. She's stronger. This is
No.
permanent. She doesn't know what she's talking about. What would you say to that? Those people thinking that and feeling that right now?
Um, our bodies are designed to heal. You know, they want to heal, not just mine, not just yours. Everybody's. Everybody's body is working to heal. So there's nothing special I did. There's nothing different about me. I mean, I have pre-existing health conditions. I don't even know if I mentioned that, but I have autoimmune disease and I still healed. Pre-existing mental health issues still healed. Um, so the body wants to heal, and that's why one of my main mantras was I'm healing, because we just gotta trust our bodies because they know what they're doing and they working really hard. And whenever I would have bad waves, I tried to start thinking the mindset, this is my body working very hard. I've heard other people say
I
this.
say it all the time.
This is my body working hard to heal me right now.
Healing crisis. It's not, I know it doesn't feel like that, and I don't want that to come across as gaslighty, but those things have to happen. Those are necessary waves or whatever you want to call it, that revving up, that has to happen for you to feel better. Like, because it
Yeah.
doesn't just land on you overnight. It's a slow culmination of healing happening underneath the surface. Even when you don't feel it, it's happening.
Right. Yeah. That's another thing. There's a lot of times when you feel like no healing is happening, but I'd have other people tell me this and I'd have to tell myself healing is happening, you know. It's taking a while. It took me a long time to start seeing improvements. But I had to just keep telling myself that. And I had to let go of timelines. I'd be like, I'm going to be better by 6 months, or I'm going to be better by 8 months. And I wouldn't be. So I had to just let go and surrender and just be like, my body is going to heal when it does. That time's going to keep going. That, you know, time was on my side for it just to keep going. Um, and as time goes on, your body slowly heals, but it takes a long time for some people.
It depends who, yeah, everybody's different. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's fast, sometimes it's slow. I have another conversation like this coming up in 2 weeks where she healed pretty fast, and you wouldn't predict that. You'd be like, wait, she was on more drugs than you were, and she recovered like quicker.
Yeah,
It's
it's so
amazing.
random. I feel
You never
like,
know. Yeah, you never
yeah.
know.
Hmm.
Amazing. Okay, so to our last question, um, if you could leave people with a, and you just said a lot of hopeful things, but people that are struggling right now, what hope would you leave them with? What things or tools or most important snippets, what would you leave people with that are going through this right now?
Um, like what I just said, that the bodies are destined to heal. They are made to heal. That's just how we're made. Um, I'm not any different. You know, other people that have healed are not any different than anybody else. Um, I used to think that I would not heal and that I was different. But here I am over 4 years off, and I'm trying to figure out, you know, what do I want to do in my life now that I'm better? That as time goes on, we heal. Time is the healer, like, our little headline says. That basically, in the things that I did, you can try those things, because I do think they helped me to feel some comfort. But I think even if you don't do anything, you're going to heal, because just time is going to heal us, because our bodies, like I said, just are wired and made to try to repair something.
Right.
They're working really hard to restore and repair. Um, but I do think it's a good idea to try some things in this to just see if it helps bring you any type of relief.
Yeah. Do
And
it.
I have a
Even if it
playlist.
makes you feel like you're doing something, like you're
Yeah,
doing
like
something, that's still worth it. Yeah.
I liked feeling like I was contributing positively
Mhm.
to my healing, whether it be that I was eating healthy, making sure I was getting enough nutrients, um, doing the coping skills and somatic practices, it just felt I had that tiny bit of control over my life to try to do something positive for myself, to try to do something to help myself, even if I didn't feel it. You
Yeah,
know, I didn't feel it.
you can't really feel it. Like when you have DRDP and you're trying to visualize,
Right. It's
like
very hard.
like I can't even think straight. What do you mean? I remember listening to guided meditations and I couldn't even pay attention for like 5 seconds. But I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't care. I'm gonna try to focus my brain like a Jedi mind trick and try to listen to one word that the lady says. Just one word. Can I get a word? You
Yes.
know, and slowly as I recovered, I think then I could hear it more, and then I could
Yeah.
actually try it a little bit more. But I still would pass the time, even trying to like concentrate on the words.
Yeah. Like there were definitely times like that where I was like, this is very difficult for me to do, but it's passing time and I'm going to try to do it. You know, it's not affecting me negatively. I was like, I don't feel anything bad from this really. So I'm going to do it. And I had like a whole playlist on my YouTube where I just had so many different videos that I would do that I found really helpful. Um, so
So
it
yeah,
is
there's a question from a prescriber in the audience, and she's asking, what are your most helpful resources or channels or EFT practitioners? Can you say any of those really quick? Like, what were your favorites or people
my
to?
favorite free EFT tapping is Brad Yates on YouTube. That is my go-to. And then guided meditations was the Honest Guys on YouTube. Those are the main ones. I did see a lot of and try a lot of other ones, but those are always the ones that I just personally felt more gravitated to.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much. So I want you to know that a bunch of people in the audience are saying, thank you so much. I needed this hope. You become a stronger and more resilient person. Um, Someone suggested insight timer. Oh, and here's one last question, and then we'll close. But someone asked, can I ask Katharine, when did she feel like she turned a corner where she could finally see there was light at the end of the tunnel? Or how did that happen for you, that part?
Mm. Well, I had several, I want to, not several, a few of those. I would say the first one was um, maybe at 15 months off, where I was able to finally leave the house to go do something kind of fun. We went to a creek um, to go swimming. And that moment, I knew that it was possible. And then at 18 months,
She didn't feel 100% good, like in a window,
oh,
like feel great.
no,
You'd probably barely be able to walk. And yeah.
right. It was not symptom free. Just the fact that I was able to drive with my husband like an hour away to go swimming, spend all day out in the sun. Even though I had a few symptoms, like I was in a window, but I had a few symptoms. I was like, this is, this is a good sign.
Yeah.
And then 18 months, I was able to go out and socialize with some friends one night and didn't feel any symptoms or anything. I was like, whoa, this is big. And so I would say 15 months, 18 months were like my big moments. And then probably after the 2 year mark was my other one. We took a trip to the beach, so it was like 4 hours away, and that was really really huge for me. And I knew then I was like, yes, I'm turning another corner.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're
These
welcome.
stories give so much hope. Thank you, Katharine, for opening up and sharing it with our audience. Thank you for all the people
You're
that are
welcome.
struggling.
Thank you for having me, and it was good to talk to you.
Yeah, you too. All right. So everybody listening, thank you so much. We're going to have another one of these on August 17th with an earlier person who was on my channel a year and a half ago, Brandolyn. She's now 2.5 years off, so she's going to give a progress update. That'll be in 2 weeks. If you know any success stories or anyone who wants to share their process or tips or anything like that, just have them email me. It's down below in the comments. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Keep on healing. That's just
Thank
what
you.
happens.
Thank you guys.
Hang in
Yeah.
there. All right, cool. All right,
Bye.
stay right there, and I'm gonna hang up with the thing, and we'll hold on. Okay,
Okay.
let me end live video. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.